And I am live talking about movies once again. This week, tonight, today, we are talking about two dystopian trailer. We will review Dog 51, which is a French movie. We will review the new Chris Pratt movie, which is Mercy. And you know what? Sometimes sci fi really feels grounded and well made. This is the case of these two movies, and they are both crime style movie that are very interesting. These are great trailer. Well, I should say one of the two is a great trailer. The other one is a worst Minority Report, to be honest. Um, I still enjoy both, but yeah, we will start with Dog 51 because that movie came out first and it's also kind of far away in my memory. And let's get into it. I will screen share the wiki page. It's in French, so I only keep the name of the people involved because that's the only thing that matters if the page is in French. So, based on my very um, limited research on the movie, um, all I know is it's based on a novel or a book. And the other thing I know is, well, this movie is French. And it's kind of surprising because usually I don't really like French movies. So we will really dive deep into who is involved in that movie. And then we will dive deep into the plot of the movie and my full review. So let's start by saying the original name is Chien 51, which is translated to Dog 51. It was realized by Cedric Gevirez. The scenario was the same guy, and it was also with Olivier Demingil. So you can already see the name are really French. The music was Guillaume Russell. Actor was Gilles Lelouch, Adele Exkepoulos, and Louis Garrel, Romain Duris. So we didn't get many actors involved, and that's fine. Um, so the other thing is that movie was made in France and Belgium. I believe it's Belgium, the translation. So this is the page, and unfortunately, we don't really get to see the budget or the money it brought. I guess it's because it's a French movie, and not every French movie are really precise in that matter. So now let's dive deep into the plot. Uh, as of right now, there's no spoiler, but we will go into the spoiler territory once we get into my review. So, the plot of Dog 51 is a totalitarian, authoritarian government sees one of its political figure getting deleted to remain user friendly, opening a criminal investigation. Breakwall, a group of rebels against the caste system of the government, get accused of the political figure demise. Conspiracy cops investigation were all very entertaining. And I speak about caste system because that movie addresses a future where in France they have actually three territories: the territory number one, the number two, and the number three. The number three is the poor people, the criminals, and like rock bottom of society in some ways. And two, usually it's people with important jobs that make somewhat decent money. And one is like the government. So it's really a caste system, and I feel like there's a future like that in Europe, especially with the WEF having their claws and everything. These disgusting people. Anyway, let's try to stay into the review aspect and not necessarily the political aspect. But long story short, I do believe that aspect to the movie was very believable. Now, this is the moment. This is the spoilery aspect. So let's get into my full review of that movie. I think that movie was really, really fun. And I will also add this. It was a very entertaining one, and the action in it made sense. So again, spoiler, spoiler. Okay, let's get into it. The action was great. The music was amazing. The lore of the universe was very fun and well addressed, and we also have that kind of show where we got poor people playing games to maybe earn their place into a higher caste, being the second level of society. I thought the cast and characters were likable and very complex, and the movie was great at showing overtelling. The movie was emotional and made me tear up in many places, including when one of the main character, spoiler, spoiler, ended up dying. I was in pieces, in shamble. The reveal of AI being behind everything was great. The lead actually wanting some changes was interesting. Each death was impactful. The violence was believable. The woman no longer being on the look on the book. Rewind. So basically, the lady that's with the main character, she was by the book, and parts of her growth was no longer being by the book. So that means she was kind of breaking out of protocol, and that was very nice. And she also slowly lost faith in the system she believed in, which is a trope in that kind of movie. Uh, Now let's get into the themes that are well made and well addressed. Out of control AI can turn a surveillance state into a dangerous realm for humans, since the AI would decide of its own code of morals. Over reliance on AI can find itself troublesome, even more if said AI ends up being corrupted and no longer under human control. Team of propaganda being rampant under the use of a surveillance state. That was great. Both leads ending up being rebels for actual justice was amazing. Totalitarian, authoritarian regime divide people for more control. Control the information, control the people. Movie was about standing up to dictator, because at the end, like, all hell broke loose because people were tired and the fence were tore apart, literally. Movie was about standing up to dictator. Any human in the authoritarian totalitarian regime is considered to be reduced to a tool, not a living and thinking being. Loneliness was rampant in a totalitarian society. I think that movie was an amazing masterpiece, and I will say it very loud and clear. This is my favorite movie among all, and I'm excited to rewatch it eventually. And I'm the kind of guy that's like, oh yeah, it's BS when guns misses you, but in this movie, again, we'll spoil it once again. The drones are effective enough that they shot and damaged the characters. And again, that movie is something else. I felt things. And I went with my wife at the theater, and she quite enjoyed it as well. She didn't like it as much as I did, but she still liked the movie quite a lot. Now, this is the final segment for this first review, being Dog51. This is the Rotten Tomato. I just realized I completely forgot to search for the movie in uh, Rotten Tomato. So this is exactly what we are doing, and this is the segment. And it's interesting because not that many people have seen the movie, which is unfortunate. So let's screen share it and I will translate the reviews because I realize most of them are in French. So that's the benefit of having me as your host. I know French. So let's get into it. I will also timestamp everything. 1029. So yeah, I give 10 out of 10 to this movie because I think it's a masterpiece and it's one of my favorite movie ever. So let's get to the Rotten Tomato now after having that fabulous review. So let's get into it. The first Hollywood Reporter on September 8th. For a movie that's mainly about algorithms and the havoc they wreak on society, the French dystopian thriller DOG51 doesn't appear conscious of the fact that it was made by an algorithm as well. I think that's a bit harsh, but I guess that's a critique. One leaves DOG51 with a crushing disappointment that could have been something much greater than what Jimmy Rez ultimately puts on the screen. So I guess the critique they're not on board. They don't like it. The French in DOG51 and in real life right now both certainly do something right. Fight when their rights are being taken away. The next one excels with its relevant commentary on artificial intelligence. Accompanied by impressive action sequence, it draws direct parallel in our growing fears of surveillance state and rogue bureaucracy. It's hilarious and sad at the same time because we live that in Canada right now. So these were the official critique. So let's take a look to what the audience had to say. So the first one, that's a 4-star out of 5. Honestly, the movie is more than just watchable. The shots are magnificent and amazing. For once, a sci-fi cyberpunk like story is well shot. Interesting. The second one, 3 stars out of 5. The movie isn't bad, but the ending, that's a weird turn of sentence. I find it hard to translate because even in French, I don't quite understand what that person is saying. So that person is basically saying the movie is not bad, but the ending is not so great. I guess that's what he's trying to say. But even in French, I don't quite understand how that person framed that review. And that's weird because that's the last review there. Well, apart from being dazzled by all the AI technology involved, this is a very unsatisfying experience. Well, maybe I'm crazy. People seem to hate that movie I adore. That's not the last time it happens, you know. It's kind of often the case. So, this was my DOG51 review. So now that we know maybe I'm crazy once again, we can talk about the next one. Something I most likely agree with many other people out there. The movie Mercy is, let's place it bluntly and in a very honest way, it is a worse Minority Report. So now let's screen share the wiki page of that movie because this is how we start, and then we will go over the plot of this second movie being Mercy with Chris Pratt. So I will just be screenshotting this Mercy 2026. Directed by Timur Bekmambakliov. I just butchered the name. Written by Marco Van Viel. Produced by Charles Rowan, Robert Amidon, Timur Bekmambakliov, Match Massive. Starring Chris Pratt, aka Star-Lord, Rebecca Ferguson. I think she's the AI. Not quite sure of the name, but maybe I think that's her. Callie Reese, Annabelle Wallace, Chris Sullivan, Kelly Rogers. Cinematography Khalid Mujtabin. Edited by Austin Kuling, Lam T, and Nguyen. Music by Ramin Jawajiji. Production companies Atlas Entertainment, a Basilev company, distributed by Amazon MGM Studio, United States and Canada. Sony Picture Releasing International. Release date January 19, 2026, Regal Cinemas. And January 23rd, 2026 in the USA and Canada as well. Running time 100 minutes, so that's an hour and 40 minutes. We got country USA, language English, budget 60 million, and box office 23 million. I think we have a bomb right now. Maybe it will change. Only time will tell. Now, let's get into the plot of that movie, because it's not that complicated as a plot. I'm just scrolling down my letterboxd because my review is on letterboxd. So here we are with the plot, and once we go over the plot, we will spoil the entire thing. So let's get into the plot. Quite simple. Cop is suspected to have ended his wife's life and sees himself being on trial against AI judge, jury, and executioner. Cop gets 90 minutes to prove himself innocent. And that's the premise of that movie. And now I will spoil the entire thing. So if you don't want spoiler, turn off the stream, come back later once you have seen the movie. So that's your warning. This is the spoiler. So as usual, I will start by sharing my issues with that movie because I have a few issues. Plot convenience, cameras just happening to shut down at the right moment to have a blackout and to make the trial harder. Plot convenience, worker happens to be at the office instead of the work site so he can have the exchange with the main character. My third issue, house blows up and eliminate everyone sent there except the cop lady that's in cahoots with the lead. My fourth issue, none of the mini car crashes caused the bombs to blow up inside the truck. The fifth issue, despite an entire city and many accidents, the truck could still arrive at the AI center. It broke my immersion. The truck should have been damaged it should have been damaged so badly it could not work anymore or move anymore. Like, is that a tank or it's a vehicle? I get it, that's a truck, and maybe they were like, oh, suspend disbelief, it's a truck, it's more resistant than a car, but like that truck was running through cars like paper, or I can't exactly remember the exact term or the expression, the way to say it, but it's like not believable. That sequence, it was spectacular, it was impressive, but it wasn't believable at all. I found it very hard to watch. Um, so these were my issues with that movie. So let's get into the likes and the themes of that movie. So let's get into it. What makes human have the edge over AI would be the instinct and the feelings. The investigation was entertaining, the characters were enjoyable, the music was very fun, acting, set design, and costume were kind of cool. The twists and reveals were enjoyable. The lead growth into realizing he's destroying his life was very sad. AI breaking away from programming was great. Nice lore and rules. The theme of poverty could lead, in many cases, to an increase in crimes. AI isn't perfect and has no empathy. The effect of trauma changing people was kind of cool, well shown how media impacts view on people and criminal cases. It was kind of tragic to see the lead not knowing his wife anymore, or even his daughter for the matter. It was still so disconnected from reality because of the trauma he experienced and such. So yeah, that movie overall was a fun experience, but I will repeat what I already said. It felt like a worse Minority Report because that's a worse Minority Report. With that being said, I will give this movie a 7 out of 10. It's a fun experience. Again, I enjoyed it. It's no masterpiece. And now the final segment of the stream, the Rotten Tomato. Am I crazy to say it's a worst Minority Report? For once, maybe I will read the room. For once, maybe I'm right. So let's get into it. I will screen share Mercy. Give me a sec. Mercy. Oh my. Oh my. Critique, they tore apart that movie really in a spectacular score. I don't know what they were expecting. Maybe they were like, "Oh, that's the new coming of Minority Report," and then they realized it's not, so they trashed it. But look at that. Critique 21% and audience 82. That's the biggest disconnect ever. I think the reality is somewhere in between. Like I could see some people giving a 4 or a 5. I'm very generous with my score, but this is massive. There's a 60 gap. Wow, can't believe it. Well. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. 2 out of 5. So that'd be a 4 out of 10. There are no insight on screen that you won't expect from speed watching the trailer or speed reading this review. If this worst case scenario does yet happen, it will surely not quite out so boringly. It's pulpy, propulsive fun, but it reads almighty like a future-length advertisement for mass surveillance. Observer UK. The UK. When I see that, I'm like, what a joke. That's no longer a country, folks. That's a dictatorship. Is this movie more interesting than a YouTube recording of Chris Pratt extolling RFK Jr. on Club Random with Bill Mayer? These people really hated that movie. They hated that movie so much. The next up would be in the third act, screenwriter Mario Van Bello was not content to wrap things up logically, but added multiple ludicrous subplot for meandering over-the-top finale. I can see that critique. I can see it 100%, folks. I just realized my computer has issues. So I cannot really read through the rest. But folks, this is something else. Really, this is something else. This is something else. So I hopefully it will come back soon so I can scroll down and continue the big review. But these critiques, I can see why, but I think they're a bit harsh. They're a bit harsh, I won't lie. I cannot wait for Stranger 3. Stranger 3 sound and seem like probably becoming the worst movie of this year, to be honest. So can my computer stop freezing like that? Can I continue? There we go, at last. It's about time. Being frozen like that sucks. The pacing was good, and the movie was suspenseful enough to keep you engaged. So that person liked it. At least that's an audience, so maybe let's take them more seriously than the so-called critique. The movie was not bad, but not really great either. My husband actually left the movie early. Oh, this is peak. Leaving a movie early like that. Next one, another 3 out of 5 stars. Chris Pratt did a good job portraying the cop in trouble. The story itself couldn't keep it afloat for the whole movie. Chris Pratt proved he is not an one-trick pony. I have heard some people are not going to go see it because they consider him to be a one-trick pony. Well, this is what's going on. I think I'm based on the audience. I make sense because the audience liked it a bit more than me. But based on the critique, I'm crazy, and I guess that happens. And I guess we no longer have the camera because my computer froze midstream. Anyway, with that being said, these movies are fun and are a cautionary tale. You need to be aware and be advised that this is exactly where we are heading to. Authoritarian, totalitarian crap because of the WEF. With that being said, I am out. See you soon for a gaming stream in a few minutes and more streams like that in the future. That was the Dystopian trailer review, and I am out. Have a great one.